and a lot of people answered. So, what are the different forms of wealth or capital, as you call it, or investments, if you ask me? Can I get some more checks? What do you understand when you say wealth management? Of course, we want to. I think first, part of wealth is you have some amount of capital, and you want to grow that capital into a sizable amount. And that is how it's going to explain and discuss is, if I have an X amount of capital, how am I going to grow this over the period of time, and what are the risks and returns that we're going to get to ensure that whatever money that I have is not getting down, it's actually climbing up. And that's what we're going to discuss. So what are the forms of investments? Yes, one is mutual funds. Excellent. Ronit, Ronak, you're saying shares, bonds, stocks, fixed deposits, convertible securities. I would say most of these are stocks. Mostly FDs could be a little different. So otherwise, bonds, stocks is all market driven. What else are the forms of investments? Derivatives, again, market related. It's I would say investments in market. Something, the more your money works for you, the less you have to work for money and forms. Shama, a lot more philosophical. It doesn't happen in the real life that way, because if you're investing, that also is a lot of work. Ronak says gold, yes. Real estate, crypto nowadays, that's excellent. So let's bifurcate wealth into very simple 4 or 5 parts, right? One is market, second is gold, third is real estate, and fourth is fixed deposit, right? Now, when I bifurcate these four, let's talk about one thing at a time. Let's talk about your investments of money in the market. And I think if I would invest in a stock market, what are the pros and cons of investing in the stock market? Anything that you can think of. If I'm, say, investing in a mutual fund, I'm investing in a share of a particular company, I'm investing in derivatives. Cons, more risk. Yes, Shama, you are absolutely right. High risk. Shivani Ronak says pros are high returns, excellent, I believe. Can be high risk, high reward. It's both absolutely right. So let's talk about, we all know stocks and mutual funds, etc., are higher risk, high return, right? So tell me something. Have you guys, ever heard or read about the power of compounding? So I'll tell you a small story on the power of compounding. I think it's a long years back when somebody actually did research and said, okay, somebody, the king wanted something, and his one of his nice advisors gave him the answer and says, now I give you a reward. And he says, okay, what reward do you want? It says, give me a few kilos of wheat in the number of chessboards, but you compound the wheat as per the chessboard. And the king started thinking about it. Is why he's asking for such less wheat? It's very simple. It's very big. When he calculated that they were around 64 or whatever that number is on a chessboard, he was actually compounding it to a large extent, right? So then when he actually did the calculations of compounding, so this is what people do when they talk about in that is called long-term value investing, right? The first form and the most safest one, the most interesting form of it, of investing in stocks, is long-term value investing. So what exactly is long-term value investing? The biggest killer there is you identify companies which are in a growth phase. So you invest in a stock which is 100, and in a 4 or 5 or a 2 or 3 years span period, you understand business, right? When you understand business and you know this business has potential, it's going to grow, you invest in that stock, and that stock has to double in the next 2 to 3 years. So that's one parameter that you identify, and then you invest in that stock. That's one way to do it. What else? We discussed mutual fund, right? What do you think is mutual fund returns generally? If you're looking at, so when we talk about long term value, your returns get into hundreds, 200s, or 600% at times, depends on the kind of companies that you are getting into, but that requires a lot of research. I don't think you should just go by. So typically what happens is, people come with a lot of punts, people come with a lot of chai ki tapri guy advice types. This stock is going to move in the next 3-4 years, etc. But that is not the way to actually invest in stocks. When you invest in stocks, when we do is, you have to look at business, you have to look at the management, you have to look at the industry, look at the PE multiple. There are ways to do it. So when people said, money works for you, money will not work for you until you work for that kind of money. You have to understand the parameters. It's all scientific, it's all your vision of a particular company. So if you're looking at investing in shares, don't go by somebody said that this will double. It's a very short term, that's trading. People do make money in trading, but that's kind of very iffy. But if you really want to make money in stocks, you got to have your research done really well. Otherwise, it makes like you're playing a gamble, which is not a great thing to do. Stocks are based on businesses, and you need to understand businesses before you invest into stocks, right? Mutual funds. What do you think is a great return in a mutual fund kind of a thing, and how is it different from stocks? Anyone? What are the returns that you get generally? Shama, that's a little too high according to me. 15 to 18%, if I have a book on equity, is what I expect. My God, it's a 10, 12%. I thought somebody wrote 1000%. Yeah, tell. So Moksha, I think it's 10 to 12%. Yeah, roughly that's depends on market fluctuations. Yeah, I agree. But generally, you can safely assume 10 to 12% or 6 to 10%. Yeah, around 10% is what you get from the mutual funds. But how does a mutual fund work? I mean, very simply, instead of you doing your analysis in terms of identifying the companies, there is one CIO, the investment officer or the mutual fund person, who will do that for you at a 1% cost. And yeah, the fund manager, you're right, Ronit, the fund manager will do that. And it depends on what funds he's investing, and which companies he's investing, he'll draw a return. But safely said, if the Indian economy is going well, 7 to 10% or roughly 10 to 12% is what you expect out of a mutual fund. So if you don't want to go to, you are not a knowledgeable person in stocks, you go to a mutual fund manager and say, okay, I don't want to make being realistic. If you are not a very avid investor and you don't know the financials typically well, and you don't have a time, you have a full-time job, etc., it becomes very difficult to invest in stocks, because stocks require a lot of time and effort. You identify that company, and sometimes you get a company maybe after a 6 months research, which will give you 200, 500, 600% returns. So generally, even if a good fund manager doing equity investments will derive something like an 18 to 20% post-tax, is a very good return on equity. When it comes to mutual fund, I said 10, 12, 15% is where we are as a range. And yeah, so that is the return you get in a mutual fund kind of scenario. So how do you manage your wealth? Now you know various things, what all things you will do. The best thing in this is, now you have mutual funds, you have stocks, you have real estate, you have gold. So how will you manage? The first thing that you do it's a very simple thing. I don't think wealth management that complicated at the end of the day. Now you have various scenarios. So I want to know is, what will you do in investing and why? So if you are now investing in gold, in stocks, in mutual funds, what else? I mean, of course, FDs and real estate. What will you do? So now you have, you know the returns. It's 18 to 20% in equity. SIP, as I said, you're right, Moksha, you'll do SIP, but how much? Say I give you, everybody has a corpus of 20 lakhs or maybe 50 lakhs at times, right? How will you invest in these and why? Think about it. Now, tomorrow, when you start earning, you'll have to make these decisions on where and how will I go to diversify. Ronit, you are absolutely hitting the nail at the head. So you have to have a diversified exposure. Now tell me, why do you need diversification? Anybody, why do you need diversification? To manage risk, you reduce risk. I agree. it is riskier, but why? At the end of the day, if I say I'm investing in stocks, uh, I'll tell you how the fund to balance our portfolio. That's perfect, right? Reduce unsystematic risk. Typically, how the global markets or work, typically is your real estate, your gold versus your stocks actually work in different directions. So if your stock prices are going up, typically your real estate prices will start falling, etc., because that's where the returns are. And yes, it's inversely proportional, Shama, you're right. So what happens is when your stock markets are growing, you get higher returns there. So all the money will go there. And once your stock markets are flooded with a lot of money, the returns will come down, and then people will take out that money. And once they take out the money, they will invest into gold and real estate. So there are various economies and various times of the economies depending on the cycle. These are all cycles. So your stocks, etc., all your properties, etc., will go through this cycle. At times it will go up, it will go down. So if you have, say, all your eggs in one basket and the stock market, and suppose there's a war that is going on, or there's a recession, or even there's something like a Lehman Brothers happening, all your stocks will come down, and then people will take out that money and invest in gold, invest in real estate, and those will go up. So as a prudent investor, first things you need to do is balance your portfolio and have money equally around various of these. So if you have already a property which is real estate, or if you don't, that's a different call altogether. But gold and stocks should go hand in hand. You must divide your exposure in these two so that you get your given returns, right? So that's one thing you need to do. Commodity market, again, gold will rise. Yeah, you have certain fixed income and at least any one of the two sources. Fixed income is another good segment, I believe. I don't know how many people know about bonds, etc., but a good amount of portfolio and exposure in the market has to be in fixed income securities, etc. So what would you do with if you have a 100 rupee portfolio, you might invest, say, 20% in high risk, high returns, which is more like I will invest in stocks and get those returns. If you know stocks, if you can analyze stocks, you have the time, you can invest in that. Otherwise, you move into SIPs, and that's also market driven. So you put 20% of your money in market linked securities and move ahead of that, right? Then you have some amount of money lying in your gold. Generally, people have some traditional legacy gold papers with them. Nowadays, you can buy in papers as well. Shama said commodities, etc. You can put in gold, etc. That you can do 20% as such. When you move ahead into fixed income securities, sometimes I think even, for example, in today's market scenario, the interest rates are rising. Can somebody tell me what does that mean? Anybody knows the interest rate are rising and why? We can have a quick discussion on the economy. See, all these kind of wealth creation happens because of the economies, things that are happening in the economy to control inflation. Rupali, excellent. I think that's the nail on the head again. I think inflation is the biggest. Why is inflation high today? Right? Anybody tracking world markets today? Ronak, I wouldn't say to reduce debt. I don't know what did you answer it for, but if you look at global economy and so steady demand. Um, I wouldn't say steady demand because demand has been always steady for a long time now. So I don't think steady demand is to increase standard of living. Ronit, again, standard of living is nothing to do with inflation. Of course, inflation goes up when supply chain issues. I don't think again that Shama is a real thing. See, it's when you look at market, that's why when you do an investment, you need to study the economy and probably the global economy as well. So what has happened in Corona times, right? Last 2 3 years have been Corona a lot, especially, and we have to understand this that our markets are highly dependent on US markets. So what in Corona has happened is a lot of this cash flow, the US governments has given a lot of money to the people of the country, and that has created inflation in the US. And a lot of our markets depend on US markets. So Fed has increased a lot of rates in the US markets, and that's probably created the inflation across in the US markets. Some amount of that is also affecting us. Our inflation again is due to a lot of money outflow which is in the market today, a lot of cash flow. It's simple demand supply. The supply of money in the market today is very high, and that has created higher inflationary things in the market today, right? So once that is high, you need to increase the interest rates to control inflations, and that's where now the debt market also is giving you good returns. Between 7 to 10% is a good return. So now the call typically for everyone could be, if I'm getting at 8 to 10 or 12% in an equity kind of environment in mutual fund, why should not take a safer bet of debt and invest my money there? So that's a call that you have to take. And depending on market scenario, change your portfolio. But I think the one important thing before you start investing anywhere is to understand Indian and global markets and the trends it is showing. So if you want your money to work, it is very important that you understand these global trends and India trends, etc. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to track the market. We do it on a day-to-day basis, but for students it becomes very difficult, or you're a full-time job. It takes time for understand these market dynamics. Then I think the best bet is, as I said, to manage your wealth better, put these all these instruments, use an SIP simply to take 20-25%, use gold to some extent, and real estate. And probably when you are taking an SIP, you also see a fund, whether you're investing in a small cap, mid cap, large cap, you can balance your funds to generate uh, some amount of return. But I think the highly, I would recommend, or I would say that don't go on a public saying. Sometimes, a friend might come, oh, I have the stock which will go triple, double in the next few days. Don't go by that, because that is not analytic. That is not the thing that you have to invest in a stock only is you feel it is your own business. Say, for example, if I ask you, in today's world, is Coke doing a very good job? Would you buy Coke as a company altogether? Right? If you're buying a stock today, you expect the company to go 3 to 5 times in a few years of time, and you have to do your discounted cash flows and see whether this company will make money in the next 3 to 5 years, and then invest. And once you are convinced, you have to invest big in that company. Just investing in a few stocks without any knowledge will not help you, will not get higher returns. If you want to have a very safe bet investing in stocks, I think you can go for blue chips. And given the Indian economy is in a good stage, it will help you tremendously, because I think the economy will grow in the next 5 to 10. We are in the best page of all. So you can just invest in some of the blue chip stocks. That's a safer bet. Again, the return will be around 12 to 15%, 3 to 5 years CAGR, but you have to stick to it. And that is how you manage your wealth, etc. Right? So that's basics. I mean, basic, if you keep it right, stay put in the market as much as possible, and probably you have to switch your investments from one to another on a regular basis so that you get the best of the market. But keep a good eye on what is happening in the market. Sometimes you get wealth managers, you can speak to them on a regular basis. Sometimes you have friends and family who do this on a regular basis, understand where the market is going. And depending on your this thing, I suggest every person should have an SIP, which is regularly putting some amount of money uh, into equities and giving you good benefits. Yep. The other thing I think is tax advantage. I think I come from a life insurance background. A lot of these life insurance policies, I don't know how much you have on the tax bracket, will give you post-tax returns. I think some of these, I was just going through some articles some days back. Some of these life insurance companies are providing 7 to 8% returns. That is post-tax. And that is where you have to invest your money, because if you are getting a post-tax return of 7, your tax include is around 10. If you're getting a debt at 10%, that is another good place to be in terms of investing. So life insurance policies also give you post-tax good returns. That's another things that you got to invest into. The other thing that can give you a lot of good safe returns is PF, of course, and PPF. I mean, there's around, I think, 1.5, 1.8 lakhs in PPF that you can invest. Once you invest in that, it will be available to you after 5 years. Then you can invest that money into that kind of thing. So that is how you manage your portfolio and manage your portfolio in this thing. If you want to get higher returns, I think the identification of the companies in terms of higher wealth management is what you need to do. Yeah. Any questions you guys have on any other things? NSC or PPF? I think PPF, my bet, it's a much safer option than this thing. I think PPF is one of the best things that you can do. I think you start today because you guys are all young. 4 to 5 years is a good this thing. I would like to also, being in the life insurance segment, I think stay away. A lot of you, I mean, give me a hand up who has an who has a life insurance policy from LIC. Give me a hand up and say, I mean, most of you would have, just say a hi here or yes, I have on the chat. Who have a life insurance LIC policy with you? Yes, Ankit says yes. Yash says yes. Aniket, sorry. So most of you all at home would have this LIC policy. Shama says yes, everything. I think you might be having endowment policies. And I think first things you need to go back home and check that policy. If you're at home already, I'm sure of them. So check that policy. It's an endowment policy. How does an endowment policy work? Right? They will tell you, I have come here, you get a protection of 5 lakhs, whatever money you pay, you'll get back after 20 years. Now just take a step back, take a deep breath and say, what is this policy for you? You're paying, say, 10,000 rupees a month. That money gets invested in a fixed income security that gives you a return of 6%, 6.5%, and you get a protection of only 5 lakhs, which is not enough for anyone today. When you get the money out with a 6.5% return at the end of 20 years, say if you get maybe 10 lakh rupees, the value of 10 lakh rupees after 20 years is virtually zero. Hardly anything. It will be a 5 lakh value over 20 years. So what you're actually doing is investing into something which is giving you only 6.5% return, whereas you would have got maybe a 10, 15, 20% return in an equity or a stock market. So I wouldn't go for that endowment policy. Instead, I will take a life insurance protection, which could be a couple of crores. It might be an expense, but that will be a complete big value for me and my family, right? So check that policy out. A lot of people make this mistake because they don't understand the value of your returns, etc. They don't understand the insurance policy and make that display. Yes. Shama says, by the way, we get matured amount, its value. Yeah, that's what I said. So you have to be very clear on what kind. The best thing you need to do is have an SIP, invest your investments there, and for protection for you and your family, buy a proper life insurance protection policy. So instead, just to insure us, but not for investment. I wouldn't completely say that, Shama, because insurance, some of the insurance policies are really good. I think ULIPs are good because again, it's a pseudo mutual fund itself where you get units, etc. That could be a higher return if you get the tax advantage than mutual funds. So I mean, ULIPs give you tax advantage and the returns could be higher. I mean, an apple comparison. Also, as I said, if you want to look at fixed income, some of these maturity proceeds are non-taxable. So post-tax, non-taxable returns could be higher in an even a guaranteed kind of products in insurance and life insurance. Yep. What's the tax percentage on profit from equity? I think long term, we don't have too much of taxation. But short term, you have, I think 20% is what it is. Otherwise, if you show it as a business income, it will be normal tax depending on what you have. Yeah, Aniket, I am said term plans are a must, especially if you have dependent people for you. Also, whenever you start your careers, etc., you would have term plans for yourself because your family depends on you. You are the earning member, girl or boy, doesn't matter. If you're earning member, your children will depend on you. So if something happens to anyone, their children should not, the family should not suffer. A term plan is must, and you should look at a term plan which is significant amount that your family can run without the support of your income. So that's how you determine, and the term plan should go up. I believe India as a country is a lot underinsured. They don't understand these. Most of them take LIC policies because that's what being sold to them. But I think you need to be smarter, understand the policy well before you actually invest into that. Yep. Any further questions you guys have can be putting it. I also want to know from each one of you, how many people here have health insurance policies? Give me a yes. Shama says yes. Yes says yes. Who else? Yes, I mean, Rashmin says yes. Who else? That's only a few people. So I think the other important thing that people should understand is the health insurance for each one of you is a must, because given generally people's attitude typically happens is that nothing happens to me. I'm a fit person, but small today. If you see even COVID times, a couple of my friends called me and said, he had to spend 10-20 lakhs on his kid, but he was not insured. So I think health insurance is a must. But if you insure yourself for 5-10 lakhs, you pay around 15-20 thousand, maybe a little lower if you are younger. But that is what you need to do. Get into health insurances a little lot earlier than normal, because the premiums are lower, and that continues till the time you are, say, 60-65. If you take a health insurance policy at 60, not many insurance company will be giving it to you because the health is deteriorating. But since you are there for them for a longer period of time, today it's an investment. Later on, it's a very big asset for you because you are insured. But the best way to reduce premium there in a health insurance kind of a setup is you take a 5 lakh sum insured, one basic policy, continue it till the time you can. Don't miss the premiums, but you take a top up. What is a top up and how does it work? A top up is something they say if your claims cross 5 lakhs, then the insurance company pay you the amount, otherwise they don't. And that top up comes at a really, really small cost, right? So every individual should understand this.
Hello everyone, we have a small glitch from the speaker's end. Give us 2 minutes, we'll fix it and we'll be back. Sorry for the delay.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, sir. Actually, you had a small network issue from your end, so
So it was my end this thing.
yeah,
Okay, I think it's still on, not on. So I'm taking it for myself.
hmm.
But I
Just
cannot see everyone here.
yeah.
Yeah, I can now. Okay. So yeah, so that's all from my. You have any questions? We can take it up. Who wants to talk about crypto and what do you understand by crypto? Anyone? I cannot see chat on this. Hello. I'm facing some network issues. Can we play the video now? Is that okay?
Yeah. So give me a second. Actually, you can see the responses on the chat box. Give us a second.
I'll just log in again from the laptop itself. I'm facing some issues on my cell as well. So let me connect it through my cell and I'll just log
Yeah, so
back.
you can take
Give me 2 minutes. Yeah. If you can play
yeah.
that
So till
giant
that time,
video, I think that'll be nice.
yeah, I'll ask Puru to screen share the video. Puru,
Yeah.
could you just
Okay.
screen share the video till the time Sir joins once again?
Yeah, let me try.
Puru, it's still not audible. Could you just
Audible now.
Yup. Hello. Will you be able to play the video? Shall we continue?
you can continue. You can continue.
Okay. Give me a sec. I will just open the chat. Sorry, I got disconnected. Can people write back on the chat again on what do you know about crypto? Great investment in very high returns overnight. However, there's already considerable. Okay, Shama, that's one point of view. What else? Blockchain. Yes, blockchain. Crypto uses blockchain as such. What else? Digital asset. Yes, I agree. It's a digital asset. But do we all feel that crypto is going to make us money over the period of time? Volatile, no. Yes says no. Crypto, Puru says crypto is equal to volatility. But why is that volatility? No, because unregulated market, Michelle, you're right, some extent. Recording is on, so everyone in the meeting. Right. So, from when we look at crypto from a market standpoint of view, we've seen crypto going up and down. As I said, volatility is very high. But at the end of the day, crypto is something that you cannot be sure of today. Right? A lot of people are making a lot of money. It's more a punt or a gamble, as you can say. But like a business, I can predict a business, right? I can predict to some certainty that, for example, if somebody getting into a business of, say, insurance or now an Ola, Uber, etc., It has a business model. It has profits. It has ratios, financials. You can analyze. You have a management team, but that becomes very difficult on crypto. So generally, the bigger investment people typically do not advise crypto. Of course, you can have a very small investment just because you don't want to miss the ride when it takes it up. But if I were you, I wouldn't invest too much money on crypto, especially because it's a very, very high risk. So unless you have a huge portfolio and you want to give a very small weightage to crypto, uh, uh, you know, I would stay away from that. So I think we are almost all about time for this session. I hope any further questions I can take it. In the meantime, I said also on the personal side, I say enjoy myself completely. I think that's what you guys need to do in life. I write fiction books. In fact, one of my books has just gone to bestseller, and I'll just share. I mean, yesterday it was on the bestseller list. Yeah, I see if I can share the screen and show my this thing. Anybody, it's available on Amazon. I hope we can see this. The first one, Love Past 7. It's a time travel love story. It's at number one. And if any of the readers give me a high, right, reading fiction books. So it's about a girl who's confused in love. It's a love story and very exciting fantasy novel. If you get any time to read or love reading, can pick it up and let me know your views. I'm also available on social media, whether it's Instagram, whether it's any other platform. I'm always there. You have any questions, you can come back to me there. But yeah, guys, been excellent. I love interacting with these sessions, especially if this lot was excellent. Please do come back or follow me. I hope I made justice to the session. Um, yeah, I agree, Aniket, Shama. It's illegal. I won't say it's illegal. I think now most of it is getting legal in most places. Yeah, so we can have a lot of problems in crypto, but I think we can go there. Yeah, your best preferable investor option. One word answer required. That's nice, Shana. If you ask me, mutual funds. One word. There is no stress and there is no need to worry. I don't get too much time in studying companies, for example. Nishil, yeah, my corporate journey have been very good. As I said, Deloitte was a different environment. It was consulting, so a lot of knowledge sharing, a lot of understanding of corporate practices in Deloitte. As my first job, a lot of accounting, assurance related work I did. ICICI was very, very hectic because ICICI, I learned, I think the best part of my career was ICICI Pru Life. At one stage, we were growing at 100% year on year and loved going to office at that point of time. We had a great atmosphere there where we used to stay up late nights, party, etc., whatever. But yeah, I did business planning, strategy there. So it was business continuously, loved it. SBLI was pseudo PSU. So different culture to work. Then working with the largest giant, Munich Re, was international exposure, a lot of time in Germany, looking at international exposures, how the other countries work, how the processes and systems of a giant can work. Excellent exposure. And now startup, it's Karkunda was for more. So now it's chaos. Every day I walk into the office, I have a list of 10 things. I do 20 other things, but I don't do those 10. So it's a completely different environment. So that's how it is. So that's what it is from the corporate side. I think I can talk on any topic a lot. I think you can go to my Instagram profile and talk a lot on various small things, whether it's writing emails, giving interviews, corporate etiquettes. So I take all those sessions nowadays because of my book. I'm promoting my book. I'm getting great response. We already sold a lot of copies. So yeah, that's just having fun along with office. Yeah, just sharing a small experience of my corporate life, in terms of what kind of chaos happens. So, typically we make business plans. We're making a 10,000 crore business plan, I think a few months back. And I get a call from one of my juniors and she says, Sir, gadbad ho gaya. I said, okay, you did some error, can manage it types. And then she says, Sir, okay, how much is the mistake for? He says, 1,600 crores. And I said, what? How can you make a mistake of 1,600 cells? No, no, we Excel dragged something wrong. And then, but at the end of the day, these kind of mistakes happen. So we just go ahead every day solving problems for people. Yeah, a lot of things happen on the corporate world. I think I gave yesterday to one of your teams was corporate etiquettes, where we talk about email. So another incident when I was pretty young at that point of time was where I had to write my first email to the CEO. The first time I was writing to the CEO, and she was a very big lady, and I was really nervous about it. So yeah, I called everybody of my friends on the floor, let's check the email properly. So every one of them actually checked the email right and said, okay, now you can send it. Finally, I took my a couple of deep breaths and sent the email. Then I said something went wrong. I just opened the email back and just forgot the subject at all. So things like that really happen. And I cursed every one of my friends and said, you asked us to check the email, but you didn't ask us to check the subject. So, those kind of things happen. It's just fun to be in office. You enjoy yourselves completely. A lot of party, etc. Yeah, the screen is on, doesn't matter. Sadaf, any recommended mutual fund in large cap? Uh, I think a couple of them. I think Mira is what I would suggest, or Axis, ones which are doing. But I think the simple thing is, you look at somebody in the last 5 years, they've given a good return. You just invest into that. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody is a good investment return in the last 5 years, doesn't guarantee that will happen in the 5 years. So you have to go with the flow a little bit. Um, you know, it is this thing. So Shama says it's an interesting question. Happiness associated with work is a myth or a fact? It's actually a fact, if you ask me. Happiness, is up to you. As I said, right? There are two ways to deal with chaos or stress, as you call it. One is, oh my God, something's happened today. I have to go back to office, or says, bring it on, right? It's your attitude towards it rather than anything else. So when I go to office, people generally, we really have fun. I mean, there is, I cannot explain the kind of chaos we go through every day, especially in the pressure of board meeting, the pressure of your bosses, the pressure of sales, etc. It's all there. But at the end of the day, you have to take a hit on your chin and say, bring it on. Otherwise, if you sulk in that kind of pressure, you won't be able to perform. You won't be able to work. So that attitude you need to change. You have to keep moving on in life. And I think the best thing, if you can create a very good, happy atmosphere, nothing like it. I think it's not a myth. It's a fact. Been working for the past 20 years. There are days and months which are really stressful because sometimes you get a little fatigued out doing the same things again and again. You want to do something different, but the best thing I would suggest when you get into a corporate or anything, make good relationships. I think what I have right now is a lot of good friends, and all these friends actually are at senior positions. So you can just call up to any head, CFO, CEO at any given point of time for any work that you want, or even if you want to change the job, etc. But I think it's a fact of life that you need to, and you have to enjoy your work. Otherwise, it'll become a misery. And most people actually take too much of stress in terms of their workload, but I think you should enjoy it. In fact, one of my chairman was telling me a few days back is, today a lot of these regulators come out with a lot of big requirements. We have to work a lot on it, but he says when regulator comes out with something, you should take it as a real enjoying thing and enjoy it. You should be really kicked about it. Unless you do that and you have an excitement of just doing something new, you will be bogged down with your stresses in life. So good, guys. You've been excellent. I hope I to see you sometime on the social media. Keep in touch. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. I hope to see some feedback on my book if possible, if you want to read. I hope the session was good enough. Can I get a high for the people who like the sessions? And you guys have been great. Hi on the chat, please. Sadaf,
Okay.
the
I
best till
want
now. That's nice, Nishchil.
I wanted to take a moment to thank you for your insightful and engaging presentation during our online masterclass. Your expertise in wealth management was evident throughout the presentation, and we learned a great deal from your perspective. Your ability to effectively communicate complex concepts in a clear and concise manner was greatly appreciated, and I found myself taking notes throughout the entire presentation. I especially appreciated your willingness to answer audience questions. Additionally, I want to thank the audience for their active participation and insightful questions during the Q&A session. Your contributions help to further enhance the masterclass and deepen our understanding of the topic. Once again, thank you for your time and effort in sharing your knowledge with us. Best regards, Sadaf Chaudhary from Team MCOM Committee.
Thank you very much, guys. I look forward to interacting with you guys more, and all the best. And if you get one thing out of this session, enjoy yourself every day and whatever you do. Cheers.
So that you can put the LinkedIn ID of sirs in the chat box because I don't have access to the WhatsApp in this laptop.
Yes,
So
I'll do.
I'll try
Thank
screen
you,
sharing
guys.
the I'll try screen sharing the video. Is that okay, sir?
I have shared the feedback form with everyone.
It is requesting everyone to fill the feedback form and also who want to connect to sir on LinkedIn. So you all can freely connect. If you all have any doubts or questions regarding this session, you all can ask sir directly via LinkedIn. And thank you everyone for joining. You all can leave the meeting. Thank you. The OC, please stay back.